Okay, this is a fun one. And it's possibly the most interesting video in this series. And very simply, I want to invite you, I want to ask you to share in the comments below everything, or at the very least, the top 5 things that have helped you through depression, that help you manage depression. Now it could be an addiction. You feel absolutely miserable and then you take some cocaine and feel better. I mean, it could be an addiction, right? But your best strategy to feeling better sustainably, right? That's the problem with addiction. It may be your best strategy that you know, but unfortunately with hedonic adaptation, it takes more and more and more cocaine and it's not very good on the body. And so it tends not to pay off in the end, right? Whereas if you do something like yoga or jogging, you get some dopamine, et cetera. It's much harder work than just, putting a little cocaine in, but your body gets healthier and better, right? And so it tends to have a longer trajectory of working. But I want you to share what works for you. What do you do when you feel depressed and you want to make things a little bit better, a lot better, short-term better, long-term better? What do you do? And what's your experience? What hasn't worked? You can go into that if you have time. Like, this didn't work, this did work. Why do you think it works? Do you think that it's unique to your situation, or you think it might have, broader appeal? And to kick this off, I will share what helps me around depression. And it'll be a variety of things. And keep in mind that depression correlates to pain. And what I mean by that is if the present and the projected future are painful, you will be afraid of them, because we're all afraid of pain. That's the only thing to be afraid of, by the way. If you're scared of happiness, or you're scared of achieving all your goals, it's not actually that, right? It's what will happen, right? As soon as my life's perfect, I will die, for example. Well, then you may be afraid of your life getting perfect, but you're not afraid of your life being perfect. You're afraid of dying. And you've got this wiring that says as soon as it all works out, then it falls apart, right? And so if you've got that wiring, you will be, terrified of the pain of it falling apart, and you won't want it to come together because then it might fall apart. So what we're really looking at is ways that reduce pain now and make the future more engaging, right? Because if that's the case, that the future keeps getting better, the depression kind of takes care of itself. If the future keeps getting better and better and better, right? There's not much depression. So that's kind of what we're looking at in another way of what lifts pain in the present and in the future. And pain tends to be strongest in the deficit of our needs. And Abraham Maslow identified a number of core needs, not preferences: survival, security of survival, love and belonging, self-esteem, right? First, 4 basic human needs, and it goes on from there. But, if you're not sure if you're going to survive, you're afraid of death, afraid of pain. If you don't have love and belonging, you don't love yourself, other people don't seem to be loving you, that's a need. And so if you don't know how to meet that need, you're in pain. Because pain is just the gap between what you need and what you desire and what you have, right? I really need some air, but the air isn't here. The air is over here, so I'm in pain, right? I don't have any air. I really need some water, but I don't have water. I'm in pain. So let's look at, what has worked for me. And, we'll cover a smattering of things. And I may make another video because I've tried a lot of different things. So around the frustration of not being able to talk at length about the things that matter to me in a cult that doesn't seem to make much time to go in depth about things, therapy with some good listening therapists was helpful, right? So I felt like at least someone's listening to, this type of stuff and gives me a chance to talk it through. So that's helpful. These videos are also something because, you see, how it works is I get ideas and I sit down and, volunteer my time to do something like this. And I always learn something. So that's good. But I also, what I love about doing a video like this, about something that I care about, is I do it once, and then it's there for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. It's just there. And, any number of people may not see it, but every now and again, someone sees something and it really helps them. And they write to me and they say, this really helped me. And it's kind of fun, right? Because every time I make a video, there'll be some point in the next 5, 10, 20 years when some people are going to say this was useful, right? And that's fun. That's a future that I enjoy looking forward to, right? Because, there's plenty of time for people to discover this. Maybe not now, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years, right? But it's kind of a nice thought to think 20 years from now, long after I've forgot this video, that someone may say this was helpful and my life is better. And there's few things I find more rewarding than participating in that way. So there's a projection. That's a positive future in my eyes. The negative future is, every so often people gang up on people for being politically incorrect, which I'm not politically correct in a variety of areas, right? So that's the negative around this is, I may get ganged up on, one of these days by someone that, decides to take this and this in this one context and, just enjoys bashing people for whatever reason, right? And so that's not a positive future, but that has never happened. And what has happened is, lots of people in tiny little doses have just said, this was nice, this was nice. And I love that, right? So a positive future. My dog, Philip, increased my well-being by 25%. And he also helps with the fact that when I'm not expecting today to be pleasant, which I went through several years of just expecting every day to be absolute hell, and it was, right? My body felt absolutely terrible. My mind felt absolutely terrible. It was a very, very painful day with a very, very uncertain and painful future. And Philip would be nuzzling me as I woke up. And it's like, this could be the only good thing in my day, but it's happening at the beginning, right? I feel like waking up because I have one being, this lovely dog, that's nuzzling me in the morning. So, and that gives me the courage to then, well, maybe some other good things. They might happen, they might not, but at least I've got a little bit of extra energy right at the beginning of the day to get out of bed, right? Because it's exhausting to get out of bed expecting things to be bad and get worse and not know what to do with it, right? And so, so that getting a dog, was highly beneficial. I also started a nonprofit, happinessdata.org, to study happiness, and I began making videos. The first were not in, this setting, etc., and, were rather clumsy. But I thought that, if I make, on average, a video a day, on topics that relate to suffering and well-being, and they're both different sides of the same coin, right? Because if you learn how to heal suffering, you learn how to increase well-being. If you learn how to increase well-being, you learn how to heal suffering, right? So I thought, I'm suffering, I'm miserable. Let's kind of try and track our way out of this. And let's blaze a trail, right? So I thought I might die, right? And so then my trail would end in my death. But I thought I might make it out, right? And let's track it, right? And then people will either learn what not to do, or they'll learn what to do, depending on whether things work out or I die, right? So I don't know, but let's track it, right? Well, this immediately gives purpose, gives meaning. All purpose comes from the innate drive to feel sustainably better and avoid feeling chronically worse. That's what gives life meaning. The things that make us feel better, that reduce our suffering, and that help other people to do the same. That's what's a meaningful life, right? To move in that direction. And so I thought, well, this puts me on that track of moving in that direction and helping others to move. So now I have meaning. I've got a lot of pain, but it's a meaningful pain. Like, can I get out of this pain? And so I focused on, I realize it's sometimes harder to get out of my own pain and depression and frustration than it is to help other people. Like, I found that I could solve other people's problems easier than my own. And I enjoy being around happy people. And so one of my approaches was to be of service. It's actually how I met my wife. I met a woman, and I said, how can I be useful to you, right? And she listed her problems, and I said, well, do this, 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 and this, and your key problems will be solved. She did them. That was the surprise, right? She actually did them. Her problems were solved. Her life went up. She was excited, and now I was around an excited person, right? Because who isn't excited when their life goes up? So then I said, well, do this, this, and this, and your life will keep going up. And she did it, and her life kept going up. And I thought, well, this is wonderful. I seem to be very useful for this person. In fact, I don't know anyone on the entire planet for whom I could be more useful. Why don't I just focus on, spending 20 minutes a day being useful to this person? And that was the beginning of our relationship. And so I would, listen to her reports and what she had done, what had worked and what had not worked. And I would say, do this, this, and this, and this. It'd take me about 20 minutes a day. And her life just kept going up and up and up. I got inspired. Because here's this person taking my advice, and she's just taking off in life. It was so exciting. It became the highlight of my day. Let's see what she's done today, right? And so I very quickly fell in love with her, with the human spirit, right? She's growing, she's taking risks, she's working hard, she's going somewhere. This was exciting. And I just thought, who cares about sex appeal? Who cares about age? Who cares about, breast size and this and that? That's a ridiculous way to choose a relationship. Why not pick the person who you can help be the best person and that's inspiring? And that was definitely her. And so I just thought, right, okay, let's focus on this. So that was tremendously liberating. And what would often happen was she would take my advice, her life would get great. And then I would say, wait a minute, I need to take my own advice, and then my life would get great. And so, that actually is how I ended up with the dog, right? Because I thought, I've got to get her a dog so that she won't be lonely when I'm not around. And then I fell in love with the dog, right? And so I end up caring more about the dog than she does. I got her a lovely art supply kit and stuff for painting. And then I thought, why is she having all the fun painting? And, and I started painting. And so that's a good, if you've got, and this is rare, meaning I have never met anyone in my life who actually took advice, because that's intelligent, right? It's very intelligent to find someone who knows more about you in a given area, ask for help, and then work like hell and take the advice and get better. That's intelligent, right? But a lot of people are not very intelligent. You give them advice and they scowl at you. I didn't ask for that advice. They don't do it. Their life doesn't get better and it feels miserable, right? So, in that context, I just felt like, what a gift, that I get to be around someone just shooting up, right? So refreshing. And so I was sharing things that I had learned a while ago, right? But that were new for her. She hadn't experienced those growth areas yet. And so anyway, that's definitely been a huge part of, and that was also one of the ways that I got rid of bitterness, right? Because I was very bitter that people hadn't helped me grow in these same ways, right? Where's the mentors? What's this? I felt bitter. So I thought, well, why don't I become what I never had for her, right? And that ended up kind of healing a lot of the bitterness. So that's something that, that has worked. Traveling to Thailand, I find Thailand to be 1,000% freer as a culture, as a country, as a people, as an emotional people, as a feminine people. I find Thailand to be an incredibly free place. I feel much freer in Thailand than I do in the United States in all number of different ways. And so I spent as much time as possible in Thailand, and my happiness went up 300%. But it wasn't sustainable because I would spend all my money in 3 months in Thailand, and then I'd have to come back, which was miserable, and work and save up money, and then I'd spend it all. And then it was kind of, it's great for now, and then it's going to be miserable again, right? So it was kind of depressing to come back, right? So then I solved that by saving with a solo 401k, self-directed solo 401k, in which case I could put a lot more tax-free money away. I'm really interested in doing nonprofit work. This is nonprofit work. It's meaningful work, meaning human beings can feel better around this work. And I find it painful that more people are not doing this kind of work when so many people are in pain, right? And so I like being the person I'm complaining about, right? So I'm complaining other people aren't doing this. So if I do that, I feel better, right? And so doing nonprofit work, and then, it turned out that it was very easy to set up a nonprofit and just donate $50,000 a year to it. And my dream is that I'll keep investing the money in the nonprofit, keep donating my time, and then I can retire at some point on a very small nonprofit salary of the money that I invested, and then give myself a small salary and live anywhere in the world that I like, right? So that's exciting, right? So I actually formed 3 nonprofits because the first one worked out, and there's a limit that the paperwork is much less, and it's depressing to do paperwork, right? It's very depressing, tax returns and all that. But the paperwork is very low on nonprofits that have less than $50,000 a year of donations. And so the first nonprofit was so great, that, and I'm donating the money, into it. So I started a couple of other ones, right? So that, with little focuses. So that's, definitely, has made the future brighter, right? And given my life more of a sense of meaning. Another thing, has been getting rid of irritants. I had a tremendously depressing landlord in my last house. And so when I moved, I screened the landlord to make sure they were a really great landlord. And so I'm in a really great neighborhood with a great landlord. Well, all of those irritating feelings that can never be easily expressed, etc., are solved. And so that's definitely one thing that I do is I look at the things that enrage me, that irritate me, that It's like, oh, that's so bothersome. And I try and create a system to solve them. For example, my last landlord, was incredibly cheap. He would always buy used appliances. And then the last fridge he bought me, right after I got married, was like a half-size fridge. You can't get enough food for two people. What are you doing? You've taken a full-size fridge and it wouldn't budge, right? So, so that became a big irritant, right? One of the reasons I moved. But now I went out and bought the nicest fridge I've ever had, with separate doors for drinks and this for that, and all these different things. And now that becomes a source of pleasure, right? To turn irritants into pleasure. And, obviously you need money for this. And so I read some books on, how to increase revenues, how to do better sales, how to do this and that. And, there's a variety of different things that I've done there that created, more money. But one of them was actually videos like this. I made 5 or 6 videos because I was irritated at having to repeat myself. A client would call up and say, I want some work done. What should I do? And I would talk to them for like 45 minutes and they'd say, well, I'll think about it. And then they wouldn't, I find that very irritating. So what I did was I made like 6 videos in this studio here. And I just talked and I explained to clients everything they needed to know one time. And then I put on my phone message, send me an email. And then I emailed them the videos and I don't have to talk to them anymore, right? And if they want to watch the videos and they don't want to hire me, great. But that has freed up 40 minutes a day on average. But it's reduced irritation, right? It's reduced my irritation at having to repeat myself in a conversation I didn't want to have, right? So those are solvable things. And doing art at times, doing painting, etc. Staying up all night. It's now like 1 a.m. right now, 1:30, whatever. Staying up at night when it's quieter and doing things that I like and sleeping more in the day. This can go both ways, but when I do it manageably and on a somewhat of a routine, I'm generally happier than I am, with all the noise during the day, particularly making videos like this. So, so that's the thing. I've also written books. This year I've written 3 books, and I try and write a book on the thing that I need to learn, right? So I wrote a book on self-love. I wrote another book on love, not just in the broader sense. And then I wrote another book called An Introduction to Life. So those are my 3 books this year. And I did a routine where, I don't want it to be a cluttered routine with too many things. So it just has like a few things. Bond and play with my wife. Take a hot Epsom salt bath with candlelight. Write something or do a video like this, which is a creative thing. So that's getting stuff out. That's not suppressing stuff. That's getting all this stuff out. Then go for a walk. And that can just be a 10-minute walk around the block. That's fine. And just go out and spend at least, 10 minutes walking somewhere around, right? And that's always, improves things. And then, respond to the emails I get from clients. And that's it, right? That's my, and my morning meditation, right? Do a morning meditation. That's it. It's a very, very easy thing. Check, 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 and done, right? So now I'm not feeling bogged down. So those are some of my, some of my approaches. I also have written appreciation emails to myself at various points. Dear Dane, I appreciate you for getting out of bed today. I didn't have to, but I did, right? I appreciate you for brushing my teeth today. Didn't have to do that either, but, I'm saving on dental bills. My mouth tastes a little better. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you for making a delicious Greek salad, right? So I like cooking, and so there's that. I mentioned my dog. I always play with my dog, a few times a day, which is often the highlight, right? I think my dog is by far the single best return on investment, right? So, for $1,000 a year, my life is 25% happier. This is incredible, right? And so I got a companion dog for emotional support so I can travel with my dog. And I take my dog to work. I got a smaller dog so I could carry him and not have to use a leash. And so he comes when I call, and I often carry him around. He loves being wherever I am. As long as he's with me, he's delighted. Everyone else loves the dog, which is another form of support, right? Because if I just walk around, nobody comes up and says, "Oh, you're so cute, Dane. Oh, how nice you look and how handsome." Nobody ever does that, right? There's the culture, right? But they say that about the dog. So there's all these people walking up to me and saying, "Oh, your dog is so nice." I say, "I know, right? It's amazing." And they don't do that with my wife either, right? If I'm walking around with my wife, "Oh, your wife is so beautiful." Now, this is something we reserve for dogs in this cult. And so, great, I've got a dog. So I think, so setting things up, minimizing hassles, delegating chores, having the house cleaned. So, I'm exhausted. Now I have to do this. So these are the types of things. And also Audible, listening to audiobooks on useful topics and then taking some action. So those are some of the things that I've done to be less depressed. So I'm about 50% depressed now rather than maybe 90% depressed, some years ago. And those are some of the things that have reduced my depression by, half to 2/3. And so this is an ongoing thing. And, I'm hopeful that with your ideas, my ideas and your ideas, and, spending some time understanding depression a little bit more, that I'll be able to do even more. And I'll tell you the other thing that's really, really helping. Once I'd had enough about being poor, because it's a habit, right? And it always made me uncomfortable to have money. So I had to push through the discomfort. But for the last few years, I have said, I'm sick of being poor. I want to have, plenty of money to do what I want to do with, right? To volunteer and do my nonprofit stuff. So I've now had a reason, right? And so I've been putting the maximum amount in my IRA, so that's $6,000 a year. The maximum amount in my solo 401k, that's $28,000 a year. And then I've been donating the maximum amount to 2 and now 3 nonprofits. That's $100,000 to $150,000 a year. Now, I've owned my business for going on 30 years. And so if you do anything well and keep getting better at it for 30 years, it's not a get rich quick or anything. This is actually the most money that I've ever had a need for, wanted, and have had, right? So I don't have, a lot of savings and didn't have much at all. I just kind of kept $30,000 in the bank for decades, right? So this, I'm realizing I want, $750,000 to invest in things that I'm interested in, and then volunteer my time, to the nonprofit. So I've been getting excited that I'm doing it, right? Because I've never done it before, right? And I didn't realize how exciting it would be to have a nest egg. And I also really enjoy not having to pay taxes, because I don't agree with lots of things that taxes get spent on. So I didn't want to pay huge tax bills. That's one of the reasons that I never made, a lot of money, for better or for worse. And so, the ability to donate $150,000 to my nonprofit and then decide how to spend that on useful things, that's exciting. And, so that's all tax-free. And then my solo 401k and stuff, that's tax-free. So that's all kind of adding up. And I'm not taking I'm volunteering, a few hours a day doing videos like these that seem to be useful for people. But at some point, if I want to stop working, and I'm investing all of that money in things that I'm excited about, that's also great. Like, I was ambivalent about various companies, but I got really excited about Tesla in around 2016. I read the book, and I got really excited by what Elon was doing. And so, that's also exciting to have, all the, lots of money invested in Tesla. And then, of course, it was surprising and fun when Tesla shot up, 1,000%. But so that was certainly exciting, right? I wasn't expecting that, right? There were all the thought about him going bankrupt. I just wanted to invest in something that was doing, good in the world. But so that's fun. But I'm now pretty close, meaning like I can see like, wow, in a few years, I could have $750,000 invested and just live someplace doing videos like this and writing books that I like to write for, like in Thailand or in Vietnam, two places I love. $30,000 a year is plenty for a much higher quality of life than I am able to create in the US, right? And I'm 300% happier. So that's not bad. And then be able to, put another $30,000 into projects and build apps, so that's all very, very exciting. So the future is getting better. And then I'm working on a big dream about community, right? With 100 people, that want to focus on quality of life with as little cost as possible. So you have to think very intelligent design. And so 10xliving.org in the dimensions section is an area where I'm developing that ideas. But, that's exciting, right? So continually making the future better, I guess, is the path. And I've been doing it financially, in health, relationally. My marriage gets better and better every year. My dog is just, fabulous from day one. My employees have been improving. That's also, helpful in my landscape design and construction business. And, as I say, the houses that I'm now in is better than the house, and the landlord is better. So I would just say making the future better has been the big difference. But like this year, the thing I was just tickled by was, wow, I've already donated $100,000 and the year isn't even through. And I've paid off all my debt. And that's exciting, right? And my money is all invested in things that I would willingly lose it for, right? Tesla is one of those examples. I would willingly lose all my money to support Tesla because I like how Elon spends money. I think he does good things for humanity. And so that's a risk, but you can't lose then, right? I wouldn't be able to retire as soon, but, so those are the things that I'm doing. And so I'm much less depressed because of those things, but I'm still somewhat depressed. So I look forward to hearing your ideas. And even if they don't help me, your particular idea, what I'm excited about is my idea may not help somebody else, but your idea might, right? You may have a little tip that just really works for someone. And that's wonderful. So I'm very grateful for you taking the time to, listen to these things and then share your ideas. Very grateful, and look forward to reading them.